Now, right after Christmas in December of 1964, Richard Dayton delivered the 11-foot model of the Enterprise to the Howard Anderson Company for use in the TV series Star Trek. In this photo, we see Richard, Mel, and Vernon posing with the model just outside of the Anderson Effects Studio. Now, two models were actually produced for Star Trek, a 3-foot model and an 11-foot model, which Dayton quite often referred to as the ×4 model. Both were ready for immediate filming the day they were dropped off. They had both their starboard and port sides, details missing from the port side of the 11-foot model, most notably a small piece of wood on the secondary hull near the deflector dish. We have a fascinating video on how the port side of the Enterprise had been painted and detailed originally. Please be sure to check it out later for more information. When Richard delivered them to Howard Anderson that day, he believed both of them were ready to be used for filming, but they actually decided that they weren't going to really film with the 11-foot model, with the exception of one long opening scene. Then they would use the 3-foot model for everything else, since it was quite easier to film at the time. And here is that first appearance of the 11-foot model, and indeed its only appearance in the first pilot, The Cage. Clocking in at just under 13 seconds in length, it would be one of the more elaborate shots ever recorded for the Enterprise. The viewpoint moved at least 3 times in a single shot. First, the view moves to the left to make the model appear to have come in from the left. Then, it zooms in a little bit to make it look as if the model were rapidly approaching. And finally, it rises above the model at an angle to make it appear that the model tilted downward in our direction. Although the complete clip is shown in the intro to The Cage, it would never appear again in its entirety. Instead, the shot would be cut into its 3 basic distinct sections and formed the basis for the very first stock footage that was to be used in Star Trek. Now, the first part of the shot, which I will refer to as TC1, was only used 3 more times after The Cage. They basically took the first 6 seconds or so of the master clip, and they slowed it down by about 40%. It didn't stay around long. One of the reasons they dropped it was that the shot really highlighted the old wooden nacelles instead of the lighted ones that had been installed after the 2 pilots. Ironically, the very last time it was seen was in the 3rd season episode of Is There in Truth No Beauty? But my experience is that everything they did on the show was driven by cost. Now, after season 2 had been filmed, the model was placed in storage, with there remaining for several years. So they obviously identified a need for a shot and decided to go ahead and run the clip one more time. Now, TC2 is made literally from the middle piece of the original shot, as it actually doesn't go far enough to let us see the top of the bridge. Again, they didn't use it for long because of those unlit nacelles. The shot was only used 3 times in the first 6 episodes filmed. And finally, TC3 was first used in Season 1, where it would be used with the normal star field behind it. But beginning in Season 2, only the epileptic seizure-inducing version of the flashing clip was shown. First with By Any Other Name in Season 2, and then finally in Season 3 with Is There in Truth No Beauty?